Hey everyone, what is going on? What is going on? My name is Curtis Brooks. I'm a men's life coach with It's Not Rocket Science Coaching. I help men communicate their way to healthy relationships. Guys, in this series here that I'm just starting here, entitled Are We Doing the Work? There are going to be several parts to this. I haven't decided exactly how many parts to this series, but this series is entitled Are We Doing the Work? And that is the inner work. And for us, whether you're a man or a woman, people in general, the inner work is the most difficult part because it means that sometimes we have to slow down. It means that we have to be patient. We have to be cognizant of the process, or while we are in the process, we have to peel back those layers and deal with things that we perhaps thought were not there, or at least the catalyst that can, or they can be the catalyst for failed relationships, multiple failed relationships, or be it marriage or relationships with our children, our family, a spouse, but nevertheless, or also even within our business, being leadership. So, nevertheless, we're going to dive further into this discussion. So, we're going to be talking about leadership, the foundation of leadership, and personal growth. That being said, guys, there are many different characteristics of leadership, and I'm going to go over several, at least 24. I've got some reference material that I'm using, so this is going to be more of a teaching more than a quick video, so it could be a little lengthy, but nevertheless I hope that you will get what you need out of this video to encourage you in your leadership space that you may be in, and your staff as well. So that being said, guys, let's get to it. So we're looking at least 24 characteristics or skill sets that a leader should have, and also to apply to our personal growth. So we're not just talking about leadership outside of our home, but I personally believe that our home is our first business, or taking care of our home as a man. That is our first business, the first business that we'll ever have. And being that if you've got several children, or just you and your wife, perhaps, we are dealing with individuals who are just obviously different personalities. Again, whether you've got a house full of children, or just you and your spouse. So we, in fact, can be dealing with just obviously different personalities. And until we can wrangle those personalities in, and including our own, it can be difficult, again, maintaining our household as a leader. And again, so we're going to go over the 24 different skill sets or characteristics of a leader. So let's get to that there here. So right now, the first one I'm looking at is going to be active listening. Active listening is super important. I'm just going to run through these here, and I'll pick a few that I'll kind of elaborate on a little bit further in discussion. So the first one is active listening. Empathy, clear goals, strategic thinking skills, creativity, the ability to inspire and convince others, flexibility, the ability to turn information into action, project planning, teamwork, even within our families, guys. So we can't just look at leadership now just as something that's happens outside of the four walls of our home. Uh, it's so much more than just that, guys. So I believe leadership, as I said earlier, I alluded to earlier, is that I believe leadership first starts with our home. Our foundation as men is a place of leadership, or to learn how to lead. So that being said, that is the first foundation. So leadership is not just for business. It starts with minding our own homes first, guys. So again, I read number 10 is going to be teamwork. Number 11 is going to be the ability to assess employees' strength and weaknesses. So that's knowing who your team players is. So within your household, if you've got a family, your daughter might be good at this skill, your son might be good at this skill, whatever the case might be, and you're going to know who to assign to those different tasks within your own home. Again, we're talking about leadership, not just outside our home, as you may be a leader, a CEO, or a manager, whatever the case might be. We're not just talking about leadership outside the home. Leadership first has to start within the home, guys. So that's the first and foremost. So again, number 11, the ability to assess employees' strength and weaknesses. I know it says employees, but also within your own home, knowing who is better than that. Perhaps your wife may be better at XYZ and things of that nature. So a better skill set and maybe with the finances. So that being said, so we've got number 12, business storytelling. Okay, so that means that guess what? We've got to have some experience. We've got to be able to draw on the experience and be not only draw on the experience, but you have to be able to articulate your experience and create stories behind your experience that will help undergird your experience, if you will, and bring those experiences to life, and that be it your children, your wife, or your subordinates as a leader, that they're going to be inspired by that story. They're going to be inspired by the 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 fruit that you were able to uh, 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 the fruit that you were able to pick from the tree, if you will. And obviously, as we're picking from the tree of life that we have gathered from our own experiences, we want to make sure that that fruit or the experiences that we have garnered through our lifetime, that that fruit is ripe for the picking. Because if that fruit is not ripe for the picking, we're going to give stories that, in most cases, that are just not perhaps relevant to what we're dealing with, or not know how to tell the story in the right context, and really work against what we're trying to do, or more kind of the uh, uh, the flip side of the inspiring someone, where they're not going to be so inspired. So that being said, the business storytelling is absolutely important because we're drawing from the fruit of our own experience, and as we draw from the fruit of our own experience, we've got to make sure that that fruit is ripe for the picking. Again, as that fruit begins to be, or is ripe for the picking, we are extrapolating the right story. We're extrapolating the right story. We've got time management. We've got the ability to build trust. Again, guys, we're talking about leadership and personal growth. So this leadership and personal growth, it's not just for business. It works in our home as well, and that's the first place it should work. Again, that personal growth and even those leadership skills that we acquire. So we got strong communication. That's number 15. We got 16, positivity, being able to be positive. We got reliability, number 17. 18, analytical skills. And so again, as we are going about our day-to-day task, even within our homes. So I will be kind of going back and forth, because I believe as a leader, if your home is not intact, it can be crucial. Because come on now, guys, let's face it now. It just makes sense. If you can't lead your home, if you can't be the leader in your home, how on God's green earth are you going to be able to lead people? And I know it's done. It's done. It is possible. But I'm talking about the from a spiritual space, if you will. That's what I'm talking about. And I guess that's the logist of this conversation, leading from a spiritual space. Because after all, when it's said and done, all matters are spiritual. We act out, and our behavior is such as, but internally they come from spiritual places, if you will. And again, and as a result, our behavior is an extension of those deeper principles, if you will, whether we understand them or not. So again, if we're not able to manage our own home, how on God's green earth are we able to manage businesses, people? Again, first things first is our home, guys. So that being said, I mentioned number 18, analytical skills. Number 19, alignment with the company values and goals. Come on now, okay? This applies just to our families as well, guys. It absolutely does. So again, leadership is not just in this space. I'm looking at leadership not just for the outside of home, but leadership first starts within the home. Again, if you cannot lead your home, if your home is out of order, come on now. If you can't start with the small things, or begin to manage the small things first, put them in order and lead those things, or lead your family safer grounds, or coming out of a situation, whatever the case might be. If you cannot lead your family, how can we, or are we able to lead uh, employees? 10, 15, 20, 30 employees, 50, hundreds of employees, or even thousands of employees, or even a corporation, a large corporation. So it becomes very difficult if you've got your family, your immediate family, just doing whatever. Your kids are being arrested and things of that nature. And as awful as it sounds, again, that's just not only my take, that's the biblical take on it as well. So we've got to be able to manage our households first as leaders, and then we are able to come to an understanding or know what that leadership looks like. And I understand that there are several different types of leadership. I get it. I completely get it. But by and large, there are principles behind leadership. So regardless of how many templates of leadership there may be, there are principles that still stand, that have stood the test of time, and so these principles must be available within these frameworks, and ensure we can say that businesses, different models have their own leadership style, or are ran in a certain way, but the reality of it is that there are principles that guide business, that guide us as leaders, as guide us as fathers, that just principles that guide us throughout life. And when those things are not managed and applied to not only our family lives, but applied even to our business life, our life in business as leaders, as fathers, as husbands, when those principles are not put in the mix and again worked into the dough, if you will, uh, things can be absolutely chaotic. So, number 21, recruiting skills. I know it appears that we're talking about business, but it's absolutely important to know again on your team who can do what, and who's best at doing whatever that task may be. Persuasion skills, those are absolutely important. Again, storytelling, and again, uh, getting back to your story where you are even using parts of your story to influence your family members, parts of your story to influence your subordinates. So this is absolutely important, guys. So number 23, we're almost done here, and again, we're going to elaborate a little bit more further on a couple of these here. The ability to help employees find meaning at work. That is absolutely important as a leader, guys. That is absolutely important. And I think that our stories that we are sharing with our employees, our stories that we share at home with our kids, again, not much of a difference, guys. Again, obviously, we've got our employees being, perhaps our subordinates, they are being paid for their work and things of that nature. But let's face it, many of us are spending a huge amounts of time at work. And so why not make our help to encourage our employees, make them comfortable to a degree, obviously, but nevertheless, they are participating, they are active, they are getting the work done. But at the same time, because they are spending so much time at work, we need to make sure that we're encouraging them. And again, this encouragement that we have learned how to do, or learn how to tell the stories, learn how to make sure that we're active, we're being active listeners. It starts at home. It starts at home first, guys. This is we're talking about the characteristics of leadership, leadership skills. And the last one is strong charisma. And I'm gonna speak further on some of the other ones within the list of 24 that I've given you already. Is that this strong charisma is absolutely important, because I think that when you have weathered the storm in life, if you will, and in regardless of where you've come from, a person could have come from dealing with drugs, dealing with abuse on many different levels, be it sexual abuse, alcoholic abuse, physical, mental, emotional abuse. We all can be leaders. We all have the ability to be leaders, and we can all have come from. And most of us, and some of us have come, or most of us have perhaps have come from these spaces and places. But it does not mean that you can't be an awesome leader. And so I believe that when we have weathered these different storms in life, again, whether you come from the list of things I just shared with you, the abuses or just different challenges, being poor, being in poverty, whatever the case might be. When you have weathered the storm and you got your mind set on that goal throughout whatever you may be dealing with, charisma shows up. There's a strong sense of charisma. There's a strong sense of aptitude about yourself that you happen to garner. It doesn't just show up because, let's face it, if you are working out in the gym, if, perhaps you want to work out or that's your goal, build muscle or repair muscle or something of that sort, we know that it takes resistance. We understand it on a remedial level that it takes some level of resistance to build muscle. So how much now, if we understand that it takes resistance to build muscle, there's got to be some force that's heavier than where we're maybe comfortable at. So something that's going to make us uncomfortable, make that muscle uncomfortable. Again, that's giving it some kind of resistance, and that's how we build muscle. Now, if we understand that how building muscle, again, we have to apply some resistance to that muscle, to that area. How much more that if we understood that in life, in order to become the leader that we're desiring to be, and if you've got an example in your life or someone you'd like to be, someone you're looking up to, we don't always know their story. But again, if we can understand that muscle requires resistance in order for it to grow, how much more do the situations, perhaps poverty, perhaps again any kind of mental, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, or whatever the case might be, alcohol abuse, poor spending habits, and things of that nature. And again, I'm not condoning this; these things are absolutely horrible. But at the end of the day, how much more is it as the person or individual who's lifting the weights and applying resistance? And no, I obviously would not wish these different things on anyone. But I know I've went through my different things. And because I've gone through them, as horrible as they were, going through my healing process, they were not any different from lifting that weight. Because obviously, when you're gone through a horrific situation or some kind of traumatic event, you can possibly feel like there's a huge burden on you or some kind of that you're under some kind of weight. Excuse me. And that being said, you've got to now get that weight off you. And it can be difficult because it can mean that you need therapy, you need some kind of healing, some kind of coach. Excuse me, you need to get this stuff off your chest to help remove the burden, to lessen the pressure, remove that mountain, if you will. So again, how much different is it than lifting the weights? I know we can say, oh well, Curtis, perhaps that they're majorly different or separate, but no, they're not separate. Because ultimately, the mind is a muscle. Muscle memory is essentially the mind remembers the experience. And as awful as it may have been, it, it creates a burden. It creates a weight heavier than we may want to carry, obviously. And now our job is to get out from under that weight. And as we are managing and finagling our way out from under the weight or the burden that life has placed upon us through no fault of our own in most occasions, most situations, there's resistance that is acquired. And from that resistance, we gain the charisma, the aptitude, if you will. And the charisma is not necessarily a cockiness. Uh, at least I don't believe so. But it is just it is something that you acquire, something that makes you, I guess, assured, or a look that you receive, or I don't know. It's just something that you are maybe more polished, if you will, and and obviously we all got different stories, but nevertheless, I think, as I said earlier, uh, out of the the rubble, out from under the rubble, we can garner this charisma that is going to help give us that I believe that more chiseled look, if you will, not necessarily a physical, and as in lifting weights or getting your body together, but there's just something I don't know maybe the right words for it, but there's something that you get out of this. Uh, as we're building up resistance, you get something out of it that I think that makes us look a tad bit more attractive, if you will. That's just that. So the other one I want to speak on is number 22, persuasion skills. We've got to be able to convince someone that this is the route that they need to go. This is what they should consider. Again, we're all on the same task. We're all on the trying to complete the same goal. We've got a goal that needs to be done, and we've got to do it cohesively. We've got to do it in a way of teamwork, and so it absolutely takes persuasion skills to convince uh, your subordinates, to convince even other leaders as you are leading or being given a project to head over a project. So it does absolutely take persuasion skills. It takes someone who is really confident. That's where confidence comes from. Not necessarily that's where it comes from, but when you're confident about who you are, and knowing the task at hand, keeping the task here, this is where we're going. And obviously you're working with a team, and there are going to be different attitudes, different strengths and weaknesses and things of that nature. And you've got to be able to speak to the ones who are strong in areas, speak to the other individuals who are not so strong in other areas. You've got to be able to persuade them to take on a task where they may not necessarily feel comfortable with. Persuasion through your storytelling, things of that nature. So, again, guys, there are several tips here. Again, several skill sets that are required for a leader. Number 18, analytical skills. You've got to be able to analyze what you're looking at. You've got to know that, again, you've got employees who are stronger here, other employees who are not as strong. You've got the certain directives that are coming from other leaders, from management perhaps, that are perhaps at a higher level or higher ranking than you are. So it is important for us to understand that we've got to be able to look at the information from many different areas, if you will, or many different levels, or many different angles, so that we are reading it correctly and being able to analyze the situation, or again, put apply the right pressure sometimes, even as we are analyzing, our teamwork's skill set, or looking at what the information that we've been presented with. Perhaps there's a situation or some kind of circumstance that the team is under, or deadline that needs to take place. We've got to be able to analyze all these different things, and who do I need to switch around and things of that nature. That's going to eventually uh, help us get the goal, help us complete the goal, and so that we can get things done in a timely fashion. Strong communication skills, absolutely, guys. These strong communication skills come from, as a leader, it comes from us doing our own work, and I say work meaning the inner work that needs to be done. About doing the inner work, and that's what this conversation is about, and that's how the strong communication comes. That's where it comes from. It's that you've done the work and being more confident. Again, confidence in all of this plays a huge part. So whether you're telling sharing a story that's going to motivate your team, motivate your own family, encourage your wife, your kids, and things of that nature, so that you're working together as a team. It is absolutely important that confidence is acquired. For me, I've garnered my confidence from my spirituality as a Christian, and I think it's important for us to understand that. I'm going to touch bases on that. So as I segue into this confidence piece of it, I think most importantly, the confidence that we acquire from our own uh, our own understanding, or perhaps our families, are just somewhere along the line, our own lineage, that we have garnered this confidence. And let's face it, for most of us, our families, that is, growing up, there has been dysfunction. There's been dysfunction, and sometimes our fathers have not always shown up as confident. Sometimes our fathers were completely absent. Sometimes our fathers were there but not there. Again, not in a participating role within a household. And when we as men don't see confidence, it's very, very difficult for us to exude confidence outside of what we don't see. It's nearly impossible. And so we can come off as just not ready to lead. And there are some of us as men who are married and in this position where we can just essentially let our children have the run of the house, if you will. And if you are a leader, that's not necessarily I mean, to each his own, and to each his own in their own households. I get that. But as a leader, it is absolutely important for us to, again, to be able to have some guidelines, be able to have some restrictions, if you will, where at least at times in life there are some things that are just out of bounds, if you will. That's out of bounds. That's not going to fly here. You might say to your son or your daughter, that's not going to work, or even to your spouse, that's not going to work, honey. We're not going to do that this way. And we have to rethink some things. Let's take it back to the drawing board, things of that nature. So it's absolutely important for us as men to have those guidelines, to have this structure. And without this structure, guys, we can, it can, our confidence takes a beating. And in a lot of the things I mentioned as the characteristics of a leader, a lot of these things just don't show up, because if you don't have the structure, the guidelines, again, have some kind of borders, if you will, where something is fenced in, and at some point there are things in life that are just out of bounds. And yes, we have to deal with them, and we should deal with them as soon as possible. As these things, when they're out of bounds, if we don't deal with them, uh, we end up enlarging the parameter, or the playing area, to the point where things become just essentially unmanageable for us as men. And so it is important for us to, again, set those boundaries, and know that boundaries are just a fact of life. That is just the way it is. And when we don't have those boundaries, we end up, life ends up becoming unmanageable on many different levels. So, as you've heard me say earlier, if you're not able to manage your household, it becomes very difficult to manage anything else outside of your home, including your subordinates on your job or other leaders, if that is the case. So, again, back to this confidence, it is hugely important that we as men garner confidence. And for me, as just mentioned moments ago, my confidence comes from the Bible, my from Christ, from the Lord. Excuse me. And uh, it wasn't always this way. And I mentioned earlier about the dysfunction that is taking place in all of our households. And so, at some point, whether our fathers have been there, or not, or been there and not participating, if we're not garnering the confidence from our fathers as men, it becomes very, very difficult to take hold of confidence, because even though, yes, our mothers can be confident as well, but it's just something different that a father gives to his son, that a son sees in his father is a confidence. It is something completely different. And so this confidence that we garner at some point, it comes participating in life, if you will. It comes from uh, dealing with the things that are too heavy sometimes in life, situations that are just too big for us at times, and sometimes these things are outside of our scope, if you will. And so that right there allows me to segue into our next discussion, and that is going to be, give me 1 second here. Our next part of our discussion is let's see here. Do, 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 do. It's going to be the distinction between leadership and management. So that's going to, again, lead me into our next part of the discussion. And before we get there, I want to talk about this one scripture here. Is entitled, or these Proverbs 11:14. It's out of the King James. And again, we're talking about leadership, the foundation of leadership and personal growth. And so Proverbs 11:14, King James Version says, "Where no counsel is, the people fail, but in the multitude of counselors there is safety." So as a leader, guys, as a leader, we can sometimes uh, just base our own experience as far as this is the decision that we're making, not only from our families, but as far as if we got subordinates or other leaders that are above us, or just dealing with other leaders and things of that nature. But it is uh, uh, to be understood that as a leader, that we seek counsel. That when we as leaders are sometimes unsure about a certain thing, it doesn't mean that we lack the confidence. No, it means that we're being wise. We're sharing or at least participating in wisdom. Wisdom is absolutely essential to leadership, and without wisdom, uh, there's a careless leader, if you will. Uh, uh, so it is important for us as leaders to seek counsel, to know that, as I just read to you the scripture, uh, Proverbs 11:14, King James version says, "Where no counsel is, the people fail, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors there is safety." So it is important. It's the safety of our business, the safety of our home. So whether you are a father of a large family or a small family, or it's just you and your spouse, sometimes we need other men to bounce ideas off of. And it does not mean that we're less confident or we're not confident at all, whatever the case might be. But it is important that we are seeking counsel on perhaps different decisions, even as a business leader, so whether you're a CEO or a founder of a company, you've got a group of men or women that you are able to depend on, able to have a conversation, share your thoughts, and perhaps on a different task or project that needs to be completed. It is important. It is wise to seek counsel, and to know that in that seeking of counsel, there is safety. So, one more scripture, guys. I'm going to actually, this one here, the next one is Mark 10:45. That's Mark 10:45. This is a powerful scripture, so I'm going to come back to that one in just a little bit here. Uh, Next one is 1 Peter 5:3, King James Version. It says, "Neither as being lords over heritage, but being examples to the flock." So uh, uh, basically, Peter is talking about that as leaders, it is important for us to, uh, uh, again, have the right mindset, have the right disposition, have the right set of experiences that as I mentioned earlier, about picking the fruit when it's ripe. from our tree, from the tree of life that has taken place in our own, on our own lives, if you will. So picking the fruit when it's ripe, so that when the fruit is ripe, we've got the right experiences, we can tell a story, and we can lead without lording it over someone or making someone feeling as we're the master over them, or making someone feel less than an individual, less than human, if you will, or that they in fact are not equal to us. And in fact, that we all, as I mentioned earlier, we can all be leaders. We all have the potential to be leaders. So if you've been through some kind of stuff in life, be it mental, emotional, physical, whatever the case might be, a series of different challenges, you can lead. You can lead because leaders must go through some things. It's absolutely essential. Your stories are our stories. Without the experience, without the knowledge, without the being able to extrapolate the lessons from the different experiences, uh, and tell these stories in such a way that they're inspiring to others. If that's not you, it can be very difficult to get someone to listen to us, because again, we can find ourselves at times picking the fruit before it's ripe, or trying to lead out of a textbook, if you will, so to speak. And I think that is unfortunately the case for a lot of us, trying to lead out of a textbook. And really quick here, uh, I had a really good friend of mine was sharing with me a while ago. She is actually a professor, and she was sharing some things with me, and she was saying that a lot of the professors uh, don't have what's the term she used, uh, uh, real work experience, if you will. So basically, that how they were teaching their students is out of the textbook. And I just found that so strange to me, because the knowledge in textbooks, hey, it's great to have, but unless you back it up with real life experience, it can be very difficult for someone to really garner the understanding, or at least for our stories to be that much more impactful to other leaders, to our subordinates, to our household. Again, if we're telling these stories to persuade our children to do things, or persuade our staff, subordinates to do different things, without the with the knowledge in itself, by itself, um, we can sometimes come off abrasive. And I think through the experience with the knowledge, coupled with the knowledge, we gather compassion. And that's one of the things that's one of the many skill sets or attributes that is necessary for a leader. So keep that in mind, guys. So as I said, we're now looking at the distinction between leadership and management. What that, what does that look like? What does that entail? So let's go ahead and look at that. And we are going to. All right. So as I mentioned, leadership versus management, or the distinction between leadership and management. Uh, and the reference material that I'm reading here, I thought it was actually very, very good how they worded it, put it together in this article that I'm reading here. And I may or may not share the reference material, but nevertheless, I am actually looking at some reference material. So pardon me as I kind of get this together here for you. So one of the things that they say about leadership, or the distinction between leadership uh, and and managers, it says number one. It says leaders set the vision, managers follow it. And I know, again, a lot of times, these terms are used very loosely. Leadership and managers are used very, very loosely. But if we're to drill down into this here, we're looking at leaders being someone who is going to, who has a vision for the company, who's been placed within the company organization, a father who's leading his family. We're looking at someone who, again, who has a vision. So it's more than just uh, managing that, and because we at some point being a leader, we have the vision, but we're going to uh, delegate different parts of that vision to our children as a father, to our spouse as a father, as a husband, and as a leader of our household, and also as a leader, excuse me, we're going to delegate those tasks for the project, eventually the completion of a particular project. We're going to delegate those tasks to members or of our team. So it's important that as we are as leaders that we have the vision, but we're putting the managers in place to manage it. And obviously, managers in this particular instance, managers play a different role as well. They're they're kind of like the like the sheep herder, if you will. You're kind of just kind of herding the, and then again, pardon the expression, but uh, that's the what I came up with this time here, is that they're kind of like sheep herders, if you will, herding the sheep along. And it's not to take anything away from uh, our employees to say they're sheep, but every task needs a leader. Every task needs to be managed by someone who has perhaps a different mindset. The leader has one mindset, carrying out a vision. The managers are placed within the structure, the business structure, to manage the people, to converse with the leader, to ensure that the vision is being carried out. So it is important that to know that there's a huge distinction. Leaders will set the vision. Leaders will uh, 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 analyze, as I one of the attributes of being a leader. They will analyze. They will communicate the vision. They will do a host of different things to, again, to make the vision plain, so that when they are delegating their different tasks for the completion of the vision, they are in fact placing the right people and with the expertise to carry out this vision. So it's absolutely hugely important to understand there is a huge distinction between leadership and managers. So we have number two, leaders think ideas versus managers who think execution. Kind of similar, if you will. The leader has the vision. Leaders will the leaders have the vision, and the managers will execute the vision. Again, there's that council, if you will. Having managers and leaders have the let's say have the perhaps weekly meetings and things of that nature with either team leads with managers, and managers with the leaders, to ensure that the task is running on time and as planned. And if there are any hiccups along the way, how do we manage these hiccups? How do we uh, manage this situation here? Do we need to move this person over here, this person over here? We're finding out our team's strengths and weaknesses, and do we see an up and coming team member who can perhaps take this project from the reins or by the reins and be able to go ahead and get it done, versus one who may be in that place right now. So again, kind of similar in ways, but not similar. That's leaders think ideas, and managers execute those ideas, put those ideas into play, if you will, into action. And again, leaders inspire people versus managers driving success. I know it's said in a different way, but still here we are, uh, managers kind of like, all right, let's guys moving along, what's going on, who's doing this, whatever the case might be. Again, checking that particular project or that task at different intervals and making sure that the timing is being implemented, the right timing is being implemented on a project, because sometimes you don't want a particular project to start too soon, because now you've got dead time because you're waiting for the group to finish another part of the task, or that's going to kind of make the project move forward. So if you've got one group or one part of your team completing a project before it's time, and yet another part of your team who's working on a different task, they're kind of lagging behind. You've got some work to do to have that team that's lagging behind to help them pick up the pace. But again, you want to make sure that all these things are done in a cohesive manner so that there's no dead time, uh, where people are just waiting around and doing absolute nothing, and or infringing on another team's work that needs to be done because things are just the timing of things are off. So again, in a lot of ways, there things are being said differently, but it still amounts out to be. It still kind of spells that the leaders got the ideas, the vision. Uh, let's see here. The leaders have the going back to the very top here. The leaders set the vision. The vision carries the ideas. Um, and through the vision, the leaders or the ideas, the vision, the leaders are the leaders are inspiring the people. Going to flipping on the other side of that, the managers. Let's see here. The managers uh, will take the vision from the leaders, receive the vision from the leaders to implement people to help follow it. The manager's job task is to adhere to the vision, to the mapping of the vision or the template, the division that they garner from the template or the vision from the leader, and then secondly, the manager helps to execute that. So to execute, again, not following blindly, obviously, but following with the intent that, hey, uh, uh, action, okay, or you're taking action on something, and it's important that managers, have that wherewithal, have that ability to, again, take the information, to be able to follow the information precisely, and also, again, as they are executing that information, they're analyzing different things as well. The scope of the information they've been given, and thirdly, let's see here. Thirdly, the managers are driving success. They're driving success. Their goal is to drive success. And again, a lot of this is spoken in different ways through wording, but essentially uh, they're kind of saying the same thing. Again, there are distinct roles between the manager and the leader, but um, a lot of the information is the roles from the managers following, the managers executing, the managers leading to success. That's all part of management. For the leaders, you've got the vision, you've got the ideas that come from the vision, and you've got the inspiration in order to help uh, facilitate and complete that vision. So that being said, guys, finally, I want to go into this scripture, and that's Mark 10:45. I know it's kind of lengthy, guys. Here again, this is more kind of a teaching and instruction than anything. So it is going to be a little lengthy. So that being said, guys, Mark chapter 10, verse 45. And here's Jesus talking with his disciples, or his disciples and other followers. He's got James and John wanting to sit at his right hand. One sit at his right hand and one sit at his left hand, because at this point Jesus has just told him, given him basically a prophecy on what was about to happen. He said he was going to lose his life, and they were going to spit on him. And I'm paraphrasing in a big way, trying to keep it short here, be concise as possible. But uh, he basically foretold that his life was about to end, and how it was going to end. And so he says to the disciples, James and John, well, how is it that, what are you desiring? And they said, well, we would like to sit at your right hand, and one on the right hand and one on the left hand. And Jesus says to them, well, this, do you essentially know what you're asking for? And verse 10 and 45, and I'm again skipping several different scriptures, but I want to get to the gist of it. So verse 10 and 45 says, it says, for even, or excuse me, Mark 10 and 45, that's the book of Mark, chapter 10, verse 45. It says, for even the Son of Man comes not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. So here Jesus was saying that he understood that in this previous scriptures here, he understood there was a way that the Gentiles, that the world had done, practice leadership, and that was to rule over one in a way, to lord over others, and also with through authority. There was a hierarchy that he understood that the Gentiles had, but in a way that Jesus said, well, no, well, that's for them. This is what Jesus is saying to his disciples as he pulls them to the side and he has a discussion. Well, that model of leadership is for them. But Jesus says, I'm paraphrasing here, he says, the way we do it here is that, and within the kingdom, is that we understand that in order to be first, you must be last. He says that the first will come last and the last will come first. And verse 45, verse 10 and 45, he says, I'm reading this again here. It says, Mark 10 and 45 says, for even the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. And so here's the point. As leaders, when we have done the inner work, gentlemen, when we have done the inner work, there's a time and a place where when that work has been completed, we're no longer acting as someone who's higher than another or lording it over someone because we have a uh, bunch of information and knowledge and wisdom and things of that nature, or worldly wisdom, so to speak, knowing how the world works. But as Jesus had come, the Bible says, I was just reading you that he came to give his life as a ransom. So he came to serve. And so for us leaders, we must desire to serve. In our serving, we must essentially lay down our lives. And that can mean for your family and also for your subordinates. And when I say lay down your life, obviously I'm not saying we're not going to obviously die in a way like Jesus died, but taking our life experiences, being able to extrapolate the essence of the lessons that we've learned in life, being able to formulate a story that's going to inspire. Going back to that very list that I mentioned to you, the 24 skill sets of a leader, active listening being part of it, communication skills, being able to tell a story, being able to persuade your constituents or subordinates or other leaders, but to give your life as a ransom. The experience that you've garnered through your resistance training, if you will, And I'm not just talking about the physical weights, but the weight of life sometimes, things that we've gone through. So there's a resistance that's built up. And at some point, as Jesus was mentioning here to his disciples, he said, that model that I just shared with you, that's how they do things. But for us in the kingdom, he says, if you want to be first, you must become a servant. And at some point, as we, as men, we're in a space now where we've exercised our right through the experiences that we've garnered through life. We've drawn the essence from the fruit that's been ripe, and the fruit that has not been ripe, where it was not ready, where we've learned those lessons. We've picked the fruit before it's time. So we've learned these lessons, these invaluable lessons. And now we're in a place where we learn how to serve with that information. We learn how to serve with the wisdom that we've extracted from those lessons. And when we put those lessons and again the essence, the principles that we've garnered through our uh, our experiences, if you will, knowing that in order to lead, you must become a servant first, and that servant process is not easy. Jesus tells the servants that his disciples, James and John, they didn't know what they were asking for. Just wanted to be on the left side, be on the left side, and one on the right side. Status, perhaps, but it was more than that, because they would have to endure the things that Jesus had endured. Not perhaps, maybe not exactly the same things, but they would have to go through a whole series of different things in life, such as we all have to a degree. But at some point, for what you and I have gone through, it's not for us to lord over someone, but it is to for us to become servants. That being said, guys, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Again, we are talking about the inner work, and the title of this series, Are You Doing the Work? And again, that is the inner work. And it is, yes, it is work, guys. It is work. And I've just shared with you a host of different things here. And there are a few more scriptures that I wanted to share with you. I didn't get a chance to share those scriptures, but I think that you have plenty to put in your basket, plenty to draw from, and yeah, this is good. So I've enjoyed this broadcast. I enjoyed this opportunity to be before you and to share this knowledge with you on leadership. Again, we've been talking about leadership, the foundation of leadership and personal growth. So remember, leadership, guys, is not just about your business outside of your home. Your first opportunity for leadership as men starts with your family, guys. That is the fact. If we cannot lead our families, if our families are disarray and the kids are in jail and blah blah blah, and only God knows what they're doing, if we cannot, as men, lead our families, how on God's green earth can we uh, put structure to a business? Sure, we can uh, go about it doing the textbook way, and I don't even think that works. I think that that ends up in a bunch of manipulation with people, if you will. I think it's so much more to build relationships. Leadership is about building relationships with people, but the first and foremost, the relationship that is absolutely pinnacle for us to understand is our relationship with Christ and how He relates to us as human beings and as people. And again, building a relationship and knowing that there's a confidence that comes from a relationship with someone who is stable. And I mentioned earlier about our households being dysfunctional on all levels. So whether you're rich, poor, or somewhere in the middle, dysfunction is dysfunction, and because dysfunction is not stability, uh, our idea of leadership, our idea of love, or being a husband, being a father, things of that nature, of just taking hold of life, carrying out the right way to take care of each other, being a provider, being a protector. A lot of those things can be skewed because there was so much dysfunction there, and getting to the functionality of life can be difficult because we're having to dismantle some of the fallacies, and before we can understand that they're fallacies, we've got to surround ourselves with people who are doing the opposite, or again, or someone who knows and understands our fallacies, understands our imperfections, and the very one who came to, as the Bible says, to give his life a ransom for many, and that means you. So that being said, guys, gentlemen, I'm going to say goodbye for now, and we will talk with you later. You guys have a great day, and until next time, we'll talk with you later. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.